We are live.
Hey, yay.
After a driver update and a restart and everything, I think we're good.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I wasn't here for that. I am involved with no technical aspects of this show.
You missed all the exciting stuff.
Yeah. I'm tempted to say I'm the talent, but I'm not very talented. Like, I just show up, do the thing, and then bye. Okay, yeah.
You're emotional support,
Okay,
right?
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always fun when they throw that stuff at you. And I really don't like how a lot of these software companies handle this stuff.
Well, they kind of want you to be... No, I don't know if they do. I get the sense they want you to be, like, exclusive, to, like, one...
Right.
Oops.
Yeah.
One thing, yeah.
Right. Try to keep you from using competition. Yeah, it's really odd, but we're good. And if you were watching last night, I assembled 8. I did all of them. I did the whole box of the resin minis. Yeah, it went pretty quick. Like the first ones only were about 90 minutes. I'm like, I think I can do this. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I started breaking things. And,
What?
and I do this anytime something's difficult. I move it towards my face and off camera. So people are like, what's exactly going on? We're looking at like a cutting board and some pieces of broken resin.
Yeah, not exactly the same thing because I don't have to set up to stream assembly, though that would be cool. But I have to do kids lessons where I have like a top-down camera while I'm making like rain sticks and card construction paper spiders and stuff like that. Right. It's kind of like, okay, and I have to remember to kind of do it here and not go, okay, well, right. You can't see anything. All right, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
I'd much rather be English. I would much rather assemble Chronopia and miniatures than construction paper spiders and dry corn rain sticks. And stuff like that.
Well, would the kids even really notice if you just kind of swapped in some miniature? I gave you some.
Yeah, I'm tempted. I'm like, okay, kid, now we're going to assemble some sludge war game miniatures. So you got those Perry miniatures kits? Yep. Okay. We have to send out the kind of like craft list because some of them aimed pretty young where the parents have to like collect the materials and stuff. Okay. So I don't think like, what's this? French Agincourt foot knights? Where am I supposed to get this? I can't get this from Daiso. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. Yeah. So come back next week and be like, well, I'm now looking for a job.
Right.
You'll know why.
But then you can say, okay, kids, now send me all of the miniatures that you assembled.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Actually, that'd be a great way to, like, batch paint stuff.
Right. Yeah, my daughter, when she was really young, loved washes on corn demons. She thought that was the most fun thing in the world.
I'm going to try that.
Hey, Matt, how's it going? Matt is in the chat. And Matt wrecked my day a few days ago. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
It was really depressing news coming up in the world of tabletop. And more ammunition for the anti-OSR crowd, basically.
Well, I kind of have it coming.
See, and there's one of them right here. There's a sleeper agent right here. All right. So yeah. So I'm hopefully it sounds like we got rain over the weekend, but I'm hopefully going to get everything primed and based and start painting them up because we got to play painted. So.
True. Cool.
Yeah. So we'll make some. And they have a PDF of the rule book.
Nice.
So we'll be able to.
I'll be looking at that. Yeah. Cool.
Go over everything. And I think we should probably try a game off camera before we.
Embarrass ourselves.
Right. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the rules go.
Well, you never know, because like the one Frost game we played, Game of Frostgrave, we had played like almost a full campaign before when we went to second edition.
Right.
As someone who listens to TTRPG actual plays as a way to learn the rules, I kind of wonder if going in and kind of like making mistakes would be helpful or just confuse people.
Right. Well, it triggers a lot of people's OCD, but it does also. It's a good.
No, you did it wrong. You did it wrong. Yeah.
It is a good teaching.
You know what? We got to do it because that's a way to garner engagement. Because when I was watching another playthrough of Alien RPG, I was like, "You idiots!" Like I was nice, right? Because you don't like it to be an asshole. But I was like watching streams, like stress works this way. No, you do it like this. You do it like that, right? So, hey, engagement. We're doing it. All right.
That is any kind of engagement, even bad engagement is engagement.
That's you idiot. You're playing it wrong.
Hey, K5, a 4-month member on the channel, so on YouTube. Yeah, so thank you.
We're going to have to come up with like a 6-month and then like a 1-year anniversary something.
Yeah, we got to do some new badges. So K5 is up to Imperial now. I just I started with Mishima and just kind of like
because they're the crappiest ones.
Yeah, did them in order. So I forget who's the top. I think it's like Cybertronic. I think it's not any.
Ooh, I know what you got to do then. Switch over to the Chronopia factions.
Oh yeah, that would be good. Yeah, they've got some nice
top
icons.
Is the Lotus Elves.
Oh, okay. Of course.
Calling
at least
now.
they would. At least they would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get started if we have to. This is going to be a bit of a roller coaster this week.
Okay.
Some highs and lows. So I'll try to
even it out.
Sorbet you between the awful
palate
taste.
cleanser.
Yeah,
Right, I
cleanse
gotcha.
that palate. All right. So here we go. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, Household RPG from CMON.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So finally something that's good from them. Empire of the Petal Throne creator controversy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just leave it there. D&D Skirmish.
Okay.
And RollVsEvil.
Okay. Is that LE or LL?
Roll as in die. Yeah,
Okay.
double L. Yeah. Roll as in dice.
Not the critical kind. Gotcha.
Right. Both would probably work. And actually, yeah, evil is a little bit strong a term when you hear some of the other things it's related to.
Okay.
So we'll go from there.
Sure.
Okay, so starting a little bit lighter. Ooh. So finally, CMON is doing something not licensed IP. They're still going to Kickstarter, so
right.
they gotta get that infusion. Yeah. So they just recently came off of a $9 million Kickstarter for Marvel Zombies Zombicide. Crazy. So it's the Marvel characters all based on that weird.
Yep. I'm aware of that What If comic.
And the tempting thing about it was there was a giant 20 centimeter Galactus that had two heads, like the non-zombie and zombie version.
Oh, two swappable heads.
Yeah, swappable heads, so he could be changed.
Right. Okay.
And that was a pretty amazing looking miniature. It's not.
Can you call it a miniature?
It's a statue.
Really?
A statuette. So that was pretty amazing. But Marvel Zombies is kind of okay. Mm-hmm. So finally, they're doing something that's not that should belong on Kickstarter. So they're kickstarting a English version of the award-winning Italian RPG called Household. So Household was produced by 2LM Press, who was bought by CMON. So CMON owns them, and I think to produce kind of in-house things. Okay. The first thing they worked on for CMON is a Zombicide TTRPG, of course. But in Household, you play as Littlings, so small creatures like Faeries or Boggarts that European folklore type characters. So kind of the Littles or all of those.
That's the first thing that popped in my head. The Littles, yeah.
Right, and so that's fun because then a mouse is a boss style monster. You the scale of things changes. And so this in 2019 won RPG of the Year at the Lucha Comics and Games convention. And so the designers, Rico Cirinano and Simone Formicola, talked about this new version. So Household was their first RPG. We're so proud and thrilled to finally have a chance to share it with the whole world. This new edition will be the most ambitious project for us so far.
Cool.
So it sounds like a good thing to support. And it, kind of a sweet setting, not.
I mean, okay, I know nothing about it other than you play little people. But as soon as you went, and a mouse is a large opponent, I'm like, oh, so we're gonna fight mice with little thimble armor and little needle swords, and I'm like, that could get gruesome.
And spiders too.
Yeah.
But you're in like a little European kitchen, and you're collecting breadcrumbs,
and all of a sudden, spider! Yeah. It has the potential to be, I think, cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see. And from some of the promotional artwork and stuff, it looks really fun because it looks like a fantasy dungeon delving RPG, but you can tell, the scale. This is
scale
just
stuff, right.
Yeah, this is just a funny scale thing.
Oh, cool.
So we'll see. So that's a nice thing, something to look forward to. CMON isn't completely corrupted.
If they're doing it with CMON, is there a miniatures tie-in, or is it only kind of?
They didn't, mention anything so far, but I mean, there eventually could be, and this would not probably be a difficult thing to adapt to a board game as well if they had a designer that wanted to give that a shot. I'm sure Eric M. Lang is got his schedule pretty full, but we'll see. All right. So I love our patrons. Our patrons are wonderful. They make me happy all the time, and we're always discussing interesting topics, and they send me links for things.
But
I one of these days, one day I got a link from Matt, one of the patrons, and it was a YouTube video, a video by Polly from Lace and Steel, who was kind of a relatively new YouTube channel, and the video, you could see the kind of anguish on her face as she's describing this situation. And
I watched this at work, so I could only listen.
Okay, yeah. And so it was very emotional. And the reason for it being emotional is if you go to a video 8 months later.
I mean, earlier.
8 months earlier. Yeah, if you rewind at 8 months earlier on the channel, Polly is talking about the first tabletop RPG she ever played, what brought her into the hobby, the thing that's like always going to warm, her heart for the first, setting that was so compelling that, this is the hobby for me. This is what I want to do. And that RPG was Empire of the Petal Throne.
Right,
So the
Tekumel
setting, right. And so basically we've gotten some news recently that they've uncovered, and I don't know why it took so long to uncover this, but under a pseudonym, the creator, Professor M.A.R. Barker, wrote Serpent's Walk, an anti-Semitic novel, so produced in, 91 under a pseudonym, released in 91.
Released in 91, that late.
Yeah, published, yeah. So probably end of his life, because he didn't,
I suppose published in 91 doesn't mean that's when he wrote it.
That's true. Oh, right, that's true.
Because I am aware of Empire of the Petal Throne. I don't really know the basics, but other than it's sort of a formative kind of one of the original like non-D&D settings, and supposedly it has like a great or very in-depth world building. So although I've never read it, never played it, I am aware of it and it's kind of its history. Knowing it popped up around like the 70s made me think the author died like around like the 80s, early 90s. So to hear something was published in 91, I'm kind of like, were they still active?
Yeah, I thought he lived until the late 90s. Yeah, I thought so. But maybe not.
I'm not sure.
So I think, and I may not be remembering correctly, but I believe Barker was an anthropologist. And that's kind
of what I thought.
Yeah, that was the reason that people were like, wow, there's so much detail. You're kind of like Tolkien,
the language.
Yeah, being so into the language. So yeah, it was a very unique setting because it was kind of fantasy, with sci-fi elements, and very early on that was a very exciting blend because it wasn't taken whole cloth from Howard or Tolkien. So people were excited by this. So a statement was released by the Tekumel Foundation board of directors. So they have to address this. I mean, they can't ignore this because everything that they're doing is based on this guy's work. So the board of directors wants to acknowledge that our research shows that Professor M.A.R. Barker wrote Serpent's Walk, an anti-Semitic novel that was published under a pseudonym in 1991. We've done our due diligence to ascertain the facts regarding Serpent's Walk and Professor Barker's affiliation with the Journal of Historical Review, and we believe this needs to be recognized as part of Professor Barker's past. Well, nobody today is responsible for the odious views Professor Barker presented in Serpent's Walk. We are responsible for recognizing this book is part of his legacy. That is acknowledgement. This acknowledgement was not done earlier. Was and is a mistake. Yeah, it took a while, and we apologize for that. We are reaching out to several Jewish organizations to express our outrage over the findings and make our priority to work with them through this issue. What Professor Barker did was wrong and forever tarnished his creative and academic legacy. As stewards of the world of Tekumel, we reject and repudiate Serpent's Walk and everything it stands for, and all other anti-Semitic activity Professor Barker was involved in. The Tekumel Foundation has never been involved with or profited from publication, distribution, or sale of Serpent's Walk in any way, shape, or form. All the proceeds from the sales of Tekumel-related material have gone and will continue to go to the foundation and its work, and not to any racist or anti-Semitic organizations or causes in any way, shape, or form. So they wanted to be very correct. We are not, there's no connection.
That's a very clear and I think pretty well-worded refutation.
Right. So what do we do? So now we should like that foundation now has the responsibility to, donate to worthy causes and make any profits that are generated from this work do good, to kind of undo or to kind of to counteract, I don't know.
You're channeling me talking with your hands.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing. And then so if if this is the case, and I think this is a lot worse than things we've seen before.
Sure.
Like this is definitely like, direct connection to anti-Semitic writings,
right,
as opposed to, people 100 years ago that had crappy racist ideas because who didn't have really
the
bad
video
ideas.
that I listened to, that Lace and Steel, I think the host had a pretty good point about like these 3 Ps. It was like profit, perception, and platform, right? Where, okay, the author is dead. Where they are no longer directly profiting from sales of their work, connected or not. And it sounds like the Tekumel Foundation is still profiting from the Tekumel or Empire of the Petal Throne. Maybe they have a responsibility, or at least that kind of bleeds into perception, to then go, okay, you know what? Yeah. We didn't know about this, our bad. It should have been addressed way earlier. We're going to try and make this right by giving, I don't know, a portion of proceeds or whatever to related organizations. That's one way, I guess, to do it. But then, like, perception, I think perception's more the individual, right?
Yes.
Like, what do we, the small we, have to do about this? Well, honestly, we don't have to do anything other than decide for ourselves, and again, this was brought up in the video, whether or not we can separate the art from the artist, or whether knowing this association about Barker kind of forever taints the Tekumel setting for us. Right. And in the case of that Lace and Steel video, all of a sudden, this breaks it for me.
Yeah, it was really, really heartbreaking.
Last one was platform, where are people still platforming these ideas, and can people use this product to platform the ideas? And that's where things kind of get a bit grayer, because the answer is yes, they probably could, right? So...
Right. Yeah, that's difficult. And the one thing that it's definitely doing is giving more ammunition to the kind of anti-OSR, like all old gamers are racist, secret Nazis and whatever.
I kind of had that quip about, I think the OSR gets bashed on a lot. And I don't think, mild tangent here, I don't think there's any more or less bad actors in the OSR group than any other group. I think what happens, and I've done it too, is you kind of associate, well, if you want to play this old school 1970s way, that kind of means you want to bring like social... Not gonna, I've kind of done that too. I mean, I'm sure that's true for some people. Like they want to go, let's go back to the good old days. Well, what you mean is the good old days is white people only, pretty much, right? But, I mean, there's totally fair amount... That came out wrong. I think there's just as many problem actors in modern gaming as there are in old school, right? And I guess it would be unfortunate and also unfair, I think, if people go, oh, Empire Petal Throne, old school, all those OSR grognards are Nazis, right? Then you're just like, no, that doesn't work, right? Then you're just being a jerk. So...
Yeah. So, bad news. And that was really, it was just really sad, because going back to that earlier video and that the love and enthusiasm of Empire of the Petal Throne, and then having to do I can't believe this. Yeah. Just having something like kind of ripped out of your nostalgia and like, wow. And also, they made a comment, Polly said in the video, now that you see it, after this information comes out, you see it in a different light. You look at that work and say, why couldn't I see this before? This was a completely homogenous, like, racial, the setting was like a completely racially homogenous. And like, why didn't I see these things, standing out before in that work? And it's just because, with that you don't have the knowledge that.
I think you kind of, I would imagine most people tend to assume the benefit of the doubt, right? You kind of want to assume the good in people. We're like, okay, since on that video she brought up J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, and when you're reading Harry Potter, you're like, this little whimsical thing, and then you're just like, damn.
Right.
Yeah, why didn't I see this pervy ghost in the boys' bathroom? And, oh, man, the goblins do, Yeah. So it's one of those things. Like you kind of course, it's hindsight is 2020, but you kind of want to assume the best, and no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. This also makes you question like where he was teaching and what was going on in that department of anthropology that, like, you know, you have
Well, back in the good old days of 1970s, whatever,
Working on your novel there, Professor?
Yeah.
Anyhow, well, let's move on to something less upset. Here's the palate cleanser.
Sure.
So Dungeons and Dragons is it's actually WizKids is producing a competitive board game, and just like everything else, they're late to the party. So they're seeing skirmish level, you know, games as becoming popular. So hey, we need a board game based in D&D.
Board game or well, whatever.
It's a board game basically, but it's in miniatures and
cool. I haven't seen any board, but you say they're late to the party. What else could a giant corporation be, right? How many levels of approval does something have to go through before it gets approved, right? And it's just like, big companies like this, they just can't be on the cutting edge of anything, right? So, but I remember Dungeon Command? That was, I want to say like early 2000s, maybe 2010, some kind of card-based, miniatures-based, D&D themed skirmish game, whatever. I think it was around the same time as 4E because I never played it, but I think people who did play it said it's basically a stripped down 4E.
Combat only tactic.
And my thing was like I've kind of mellowed out on 4E, but my thing now is like if you can port it over to a miniatures war game with basically no changes, how the fuck do you call it an RPG, right? Yeah. Anyway, so that whole point and that whole tangent was this doesn't seem like it's the first time, certainly not the first time they've done a skirmish game. Hey, chainmail is where D&D came from, right? That's a so back to our roots.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
However many years later.
So it's funny because it just reminded me so much of their attempt to jump on the X-Wing bandwagon with Attack Wing. So it's like, what if X-Wing?
My God, I had forgotten about that.
If X-Wings were dragons.
I had forgotten about that. Man, that just disappeared, didn't it?
Well, actually, it's still going.
All right, I take it back. All right.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was surprised in this article they talked about they're releasing like their 11th wave, like I think last year or something, the 11th wave of Attack Wing came out. I mean, dragon miniatures are fun, but who is still playing Attack Wing?
Yeah. You know what? I have no idea what an Attack Wave box looks like. I don't think it's a necessarily bad idea commercially because people are going to want Dragon Minis for whatever game they're playing. There's a game attached to it as well.
Yeah, it's true.
By the way, it's proprietary, so you got to buy all those little turn
right.
markers and these special dice and the dials.
Exactly like X-Wing. I mean, they just ripped it off like unabashedly, like the rulers and everything, the turn.
Well, if things aren't broke, why fix them?
Right. Hopefully they license that from.
No, I don't think they do.
Because Jay Little or
you know what?
Fantasy Flight.
You can't prove we didn't independently come up with it.
Yeah, that's true.
So back
parallel thinking. Yeah, so at GAMA Expo they released this game. So competitive skirmish board game where players battle rival adventurers and monsters in a quest for glory. So 21 miniatures and will feature the Harpers and Zentarim factions from Forgotten Realms.
Don't care. Don't care. But you know what? I'm sure people who like Forgotten Realms go awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, right?
Yeah. So. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be using like the pre-painted WizKids stuff, or the kind of HeroClix style stuff. And there was something recently, I think it was a WizKids product, where they were doing a promotional video and they were putting the miniatures on the board, and you're like, oh, look at these cool miniatures. And the one guy was like holding like a long sword or something, and it was just curled. Yeah, they couldn't even for the video straighten out or at least like replace. Like they spray food with like varnish to make it look juicy. They couldn't even like swap out the curly Q sword on the miniatures. Like, oh yeah, you're kind of admitting right there.
As someone who knows how the food is photographed for those things, and you could definitely not fucking eat it. Like,
right.
Bro, that is Elmer's glue in your milk, right? So I would actually kind of respect WizKids more if they went like, we've just opened it from the box.
Yeah,
here's what you get, right? Everybody knows WizKids stuff is like erectile dysfunction swords and banners and whatever, We're just like, nope, this is what you get. We didn't repaint this or repose this, whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. Only 21 miniatures in this game.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe you're kind of recycling, kind of
I wonder
grunts and stuff.
if they are kind of generic warrior types.
I wonder, or if they're going with some narrative, like there's like two competing bands or something.
Maybe.
So it is like named characters and things. Yeah, because they name the faction. So I wonder, what that means.
Well, no idea how it plays, but maybe it's kind of like, who knows? Okay, like we just got not the physical version, but the PDF version of Blaster Volume 4, which has Sludge Nations in it.
Yes.
Which I was kind of surprised. It's new faction lists, right? And if you kind of ally yourself with one of these factions that can be used as either the named faction or an archetype, you kind of open up access to these other units, right? So, but I brought that up because that can be used as like a template for anything you want to make, right? You kind of play just naming things differently, right? I wonder if this D&D skirmish game is going to be, okay, we have these two groups. Within these two groups, you have your basic warrior types, and we're going to give you these like command cards or commander cards or whatever that add extra customized abilities to your characters. So you don't need more figures. You just need, okay, I'm playing a Harper's commander, which is this and this card of abilities or whatever, right? So it's like, you're using the Zentrum commander. You have the same miniature, which is kind of going to be confusing as fuck on the table, but you have access to your cards over there. Extra add-ons would be a way to give additional abilities without having to increase the number of miniatures. And adds a collectible card nature, which people are kind of in love.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah.
no idea if that's what they're going to do. That would be one way to do it.
Yeah,
I also want to see what the board looks like.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't find any images in this press release, but they did mention the game will feature a combat dial card system. So I guess you're like, turning a dial on your hit points
or you're saying, I'm going to move swoop to the left.
Oh, right. Or you're setting, you're setting like your
you know what?
movements.
Again, I'm kind of all over the place here today, but the the Fantasy Flight StarCraft board game, fantastic. They didn't use a combat dial, but you had to set your order and then put it face down on the board in the area you were affecting. And then one aspect of play was, okay, I went first. Oh, you put your counter on top of mine, which means I don't get to do it until it resolves top down, right? That was really cool.
Yeah, that's
and it was also hidden. So if it's some kind of combat dial, it could be, here's my whatever warrior combat dial. I'm going to set it to this number and this maneuver, and you open up a whole bunch of tactical stuff about, am I going to go before or after? What's going to happen first? So that could be really interesting.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Or it could just be 19, 18, 17, 15, right?
Yeah,
Not sure which.
That's a good point. Yeah, because even Free League did that with Forbidden Lands. They had some cards where you could use in combat for what you're doing, what your action is, and you would hold that, and then depending on what happened to you and what the initiative order was, it either it defeated an attack or mitigated it, or it canceled each other. Things canceled each other.
Kind of a bit like rock paper scissors, a little bit,
a
with also kind of like, or a bit like poker. Like, okay, I'm playing the game, but I'm also playing my opponent and looking at the board state to try and decide what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what the board looks like, because there was some miniatures game before that didn't use measurement. They had like circles on the board that showed the movement paths your units could take, but that also incorporated line of sight.
Oh.
Like a certain color indicated like you could see the other identically colored spaces on the board.
Right.
And terrain and kind of line of sight was built into each board section. And I thought that was... I like miniatures games. I thought that was a pretty cool way to do it with only a board game. Like, I'm on this red space. I can see every other red space. Oh, that one's blue because it's behind a wall. Therefore, I can't see it.
Yeah.
If they did something like that, again, it could be cool. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. So this was talked a bit about on the designer's Twitter. So, Yeah, so he released a little statement. So Nicholas Yu on Twitter was talking about being the designer of this game, and they showed it off at GAMA Expo, and we're going to get a release of it in the third quarter of this year. So coming up.
I wonder if I'm kind of because brain work. I'm tripping over my words. I think Adepticon is currently happening right now because the Sludge War Game people are at Adepticon, which probably means they haven't shipped my resin head conversion bits yet. So I'm just like, come on, get home and ship me my stuff.
Right.
But I'm surprised they didn't release or have something to show at Adepticon. Or maybe they do because it's a miniatures game. Maybe they said this is a board game with miniatures. Right. So maybe, therefore, we're not bringing it.
Yeah, because Gamma's the game. Yeah, so I don't know. But so that was something I thought was funny. Just reminded me of Attack Wing. And then in the article it says, and the 11th wave of Attack Wing miniatures are coming out this year. 11?
What version of dragons are on now?
I don't know.
Or they have to like alternate pose ones,
right.
Or the weird ones that no one really cares about, like the Elder Brain Dragon, only referenced in whatever thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, also, probably will not be getting that.
Oh, yeah.
I would play the fuck out of it if someone sent it to us.
Right. So it will go on the Amazon wish list that will link up on the site there. Yeah, we should start that. That might be a good thing to, because if you don't like Patreon or subscribing or doing anything, an Amazon wish list.
Hey, send us this game. Yeah,
right. We'll just put stuff that they actually will ship to Japan on the list.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, right. All right. And the last thing, RollVsEvil. So a little... notice that the owners or creators of or founders, of Modifius Entertainment, so Chris and Rita Birch, started a new charitable organization, a nonprofit, a new tabletop nonprofit called RollVsEvil. And their first campaign, they will focus on Ukraine. So people that are participating are just a huge list of everybody basically in the board game industry. So Chaosium, Cubicle 7, GAMA, Green Ronin, Magpie, Mantic, Mythic, Parabellum, Paizo, Q Workshop. It's basically everyone. Our Talsorian, Roll20, Steve Jackson, Steamforge, Titanforge, and UK Games Expo. So a statement from RollVsEvil. The first event aims to keep it simple, asking interested gamers to just play a game online or in person on March 26th, Saturday. The group will... they suggest ways that you can that players commit a few dollars for playing, and then during play think of interesting ways to encourage donations. So re-rolls or things like that. So you're kind of doing like live streams and things that raise money for charity, and then they'll give you a way to donate what you raised specifically to them. And so Roll20 is also making it giving some free support to this. So the virtual platform will offer a free bundle of games to play, and the organizers included examples of several organizations they're currently supporting. So I think it sounds great, and it's a catchy name. But the thing that was funny to me is it's RollVsEvil. Okay, so we can talk about evil in Ukraine in the invasion of Ukraine. But then they're also talking about the disabled, LGBTQ+, senior citizens with pets. It's like, so these are charities you're donating to, but what's the evil part of senior citizens with pets? The senior citizens without pets are the scourge of humanity. So it's catchy and fun, and they got a nice logo for it. But it's so funny once you get away from humanitarian crises, charities, then you get
senior citizens without pets.
Right. It's like
that is a bit. I understand not necessarily casting the net, but I understand broadening thing, being here's a wide swath of charities you could donate to in an effort to encourage as many people as possible to participate. But yeah, it is a little odd when you're like, okay, RollVsEvil, and here's the big one, humanitarian crisis, and then no pets for old people. They're like No Country for Old Men, no pets for old people. Right? Interesting. It's also kind of interesting where it sounds like RollVsEvil is not basically, they're organizing things, right? They're kind of like, we've set a day, we've lined up some charities, here's some suggested charities, here's some things you can do. It sounds like they're not collecting any of the money themselves, which I'm not saying is positive or negative. I'm just saying, okay, they're just kind of more the overall organizer.
It may be through them. Yeah, it might be through them. Well, the one thing that they are doing, though, part of their contribution is they have organized kind of investment asset management companies and things to do matching funds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. So that was the thing.
Cool.
That wasn't in the statement. That was a little bit earlier in the release. That donations will be matched by a private equity firm up to a certain amount. So that's the part that they're kind of getting involved. They're getting people to match money for these different.
Cool.
Different
that wasn't
funds.
me saying they're not doing anything. It was more just like they're hands off with the money. They've set things up. They've gotten kind of not necessarily sponsors, but donors to match donations. Okay, that's cool.
And the one thing that I like that they mentioned also is they're promising transparency, which I think is important with charities, especially when charities just spring from the news. Any crisis or anything in the news, suddenly you can donate to it, and you have no idea where these funds are actually going. So as they move forward, they will be offering evidence of photos, videos, and testimonials to demonstrate the effect of the charity going to the cause. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're going to try as much as possible to kind of, tell people, look at this is what, we did this and this guy has a dog now.
Right. I thought that transparency would be more just like a paper trail, being like,
oh, yeah.
Okay, look, here's the proof where we actually donated. I don't know which one I would. Hopefully it would be both. I don't know which one I would prefer because like a video of a letter or someone saying eventually, basically like, yes, Seniors for Pets got me a dog. It's kind of like, I'm kind of being a bit facetious, but that to me is a proof, but could also be faked.
Yeah,
right?
that's yeah.
So when you said transparency, that's why paper trail is the first thing that went through my head, which could also be faked, I suppose.
Yeah,
So,
but I think charitable organizations have to be open to audits and things. So I think that the paperwork is kind of implied with a lot of charities.
So since it's already implied by saying we're even more transparency, then okay.
So we'll see. But yeah, so tabletop doing, and I think video games did something like this a while ago. There was an organization like this. I forget the title, but it had one of those catchy titles like Play for Kids or whatever.
Right, something like that.
something. But they raised, charity. They were a charitable organization that involved a lot of streamers and people in video games to then do events that, like an organized event.
Cool. Looking at you, Critical Role.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Raise that money. So we'll see how they do. And this might be one of those things too, that if they can organize it every year, it'll just build and build because more people get organized or more people be involved, and they already have the participation of a lot of the big companies. So maybe it'll be a day where people donate, okay, here's the adventure to play on the RollVsEvil event. So and especially because Roll20 is involved, that means we can stream it very easily. All right. So that'll do it.
Yeah. Nice.
So a real roller coaster of the good and bad.
Yeah.
But we'll move on from here.
Yeah. Next week will just be like.
Yeah. Right. That'll be just a bunch of nothing.
No drama at all.
So where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm spamming bear gray plastic miniature photos of the blue tacked Perry miniature stuff that I'm putting together. So, they all look kind of the same, but until I get those sludge heads, I'm going to have to do a lot of head swaps. And I don't think they look that interesting, where it's easy to mix them up. So, interspersed with my usual parenting tweets. So,
Nice.
Anyway. How about you?
Excellent. Well, I'm still doing my single panel gag cartoon. So Abuse Cartoons. So that's on Monday evenings, Tuesday afternoon if you're in Asia. And Abuse Cartoons on all social media and both on YouTube and Twitch. That's streamed. And you can go to gocomics.com/domestic abuse for 20 years of a single panel gag cartoon about food and staplers and remote controls. All right. And if you'd like to support what we're doing at the weekly, please visit patreon.com/upturntable and become a weekling, one of the strongest of all patrons.
The strongest of all weaklings. Yeah.
And upturntable.com is where you can find everything that we're doing, and on social media as well, upturntable. And and so right now we're in the middle of Chronopia. So we're up the run up to the launch of the Kickstarter on March 29th.
Cool.
We're going to be playing the demo set. So demo rules with 2 scenarios to play, but they gave us dice and everything. Yeah, in the box. Yeah.
And shipping to Japan.
Yeah, right. That was really
probably
great.
doubled the price of the thing. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so that was really nice. So yeah, thank you again, Martin, for shipping us a demo pack, and we will definitely get some videos to play.
Dibs on devout.
Yes, and you can see me unboxing this, and then mostly on camera assembling it on a live stream.
How much cursing did you do when you snapped that double-hafted axe?
It was mostly tears. I think people just saw tears dropping onto the the surface, the cutting surface. But the quality of the cards and everything is really good.
Ooh,
and
nice.
This is just their example, so it didn't have to be.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I think the production quality of everything is going to be really good.
Sweet.
And they've got great illustrators and things working on it.
I can tell just by like the shot on the side of the box. Those are the shoulder pads I remember.
Yes,
the giant ones that are so wildly impractical.
The sculptor is a Spanish studio that did the sculpting, and the head of that studio did a really good job of updating, but still keeping all of those things, those visual things that are like, this is Chronopia, with each of the races and everything.
Cool.
And the poses are, as you can tell from the renders on the box, really dynamic. So he started with that just straight on illustration, and then changed to really dynamic poses. So on the tabletop, they're going to look really great in combat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So that will do it for this week. We'll be back to do the same next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.
Sweet.
Nice.
That showed up pretty quick, hey?
Yeah. Check it out. Yeah, and it's nice. There was a lot of there's assembly guides and stuff on there. That was really nice that they did that. Oh, let me switch over, everyone, to a little musical interlude while Chris gets ready. Yeah. right. So let's take a look at the chat. Oh, if if my tablet is actually going to show the chat. So how is everybody doing? There we go. Loading in. Oh, good. I'm glad it didn't get lost. Nice. Oh, so Matt had same question for Chronopia. I had for Frostgrave. Oh, do you think it works on hexes? I think so. Yeah. I think Chronopia could work measurelessly on hexes, especially at this level. This scale of it, I don't think would be too difficult. It actually would probably work pretty well, because as long as you, because everyone's going to have a movement value, and as long as your hexes are, about 1 inch, or everything's kind of scaled to that being an inch, then yeah, I think it would work pretty well. And then yeah, all you have to do is make sure you were clear about line of sight rules and everything. But yeah, it would definitely work on hexes. Yeah, that was really tempting when you brought that up about Frostgrave, Matt. I was looking at people offer STLs for the hero quest, or the hexes, the hexes for building terrain for not hero quest, for the other one, the other game with hexes, and and people also produce them. They're a little bit expensive, but they produce them and then use like the blue translucent plastic for ice, and all the different terrain types have a different colored plastic, but pretty good. Yeah. No, Matt, no, thank you so much. I wouldn't have, that probably wouldn't have come across my feed otherwise, the Tekumel kind of controversy. I really appreciate that. I mean, yeah, keep sending me stuff, because that really helps me stay on top of what to talk about for the week, especially when things get busy. Busy, like with the Chronopia stuff. I really appreciated that. That filled out the week very nicely. So thank you again, Matt, for that. And hey, Alvaro, how's it going? And K5 is in the chat. Nice. They used a dial like that in Star Wars Armada, and the biggest ships, Alvaro is saying, the biggest ships delayed their action dials to represent a bigger chain of command and slower reactions. Oh, cool. Yeah, I thought that stacking and command order is interesting. The alternate Forbidden Lands combat rules were very Burning Wheel. Didn't really mesh with the Year Zero system. Yeah, we didn't use them in the sessions that we played. Interesting. Yeah, I suspected. Yeah, it didn't come up, so I suspected that none of the players were looking for it. Matt said, I enjoyed Armada, couldn't get my group to buy in. Yeah, that's the problem, especially with the Fantasy Flight games. It can get expensive, and if you're later in the cycle of the game, the further you get from release, because I remember buying into Netrunner, it was like a $200 into a card game. It was at least a $200 buy-in to get to the level that everybody else was at with Netrunner. Those living card games sure do require a lot of investment. So yeah, I wasn't wasn't in love with that idea. And all of those living card games, the trick was, you have to buy. So we normally allow three copies of a card in a deck. These core boxes have one copy of that card. So if you would like to take advantage of that rule and have this really useful card in your deck 3 times, buy 3 core boxes. So that's how they made their initial sales, I think. All right. Yes, Miguel, the humongous shoulder pads rule. Yeah, especially they did a nice job. The sculptor did a nice job with the devout big spiky shoulder pads. Oh, that's right, Matt. Yeah, I still haven't heard back. I will bug Jackson again if they've got a t-shirt shop set up, or if they do have merch, if they actually produce merch for their shows. I'm not sure in Japan if like smaller acts do that. That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely I want to hear from him about that. Nice. Oh, nice. Miguel said it was late to the Cascas painting some 2nd edition Bauhaus. Oh, very cool. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, post some photos, Miguel, and send us some links. Let's talk about shoulder pads. Yes, Bauhaus and the big gears on their shoulder pads. Nice. Yes, more like head, shoulder, arm, and in the same model. Yes. hand pads. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think definitely that, especially early miniature production. I think they liked big pauldrons because they covered the crappy joint connections, like how limbs didn't actually attach very well to miniatures. It's all concealed. Thank you, Heroscape. Yeah, yes. Thank you. Yeah, Heroscape is the hex game we're talking about. Matt has to correct me. Yeah, Alvaro said, 2 copies of the Lord of the Rings LCG, and the PC version is cheaper. Yeah, that's, I don't know. We did a, back in the day, the Idle Red Hands days, we did a kind of a discussion of living card games. And that business model, they're trying to, it's not magic, it's not collectible. You're not going to have to sink hundreds and hundreds of dollars into buying these, blind packs and ripping them open. Everyone's going to have the same cards. But they really set up the rules to have everybody on this treadmill, like having packs out so often. I remember every time, so the guy that bought, Alan, that bought the booster packs, kind of bulk ordered booster packs for our group, every time I saw him, I had to give him $50 because the packs just kept coming out for Netrunners. That was a never-ending cycle. But I like that setting a lot, so I wouldn't mind playing an RPG, a tabletop RPG or something in that setting. And the game was good. I mean, the asymmetrical part of Netrunner was good, but it was way too expensive. Or you were just stuck in a kind of a weird subscription model. So more will be coming this week. So kind of leading up to the Kickstarter, we want to do as much Chronopia as possible. And so once I have these painted, Chris promised to stop by after work, so we'll get some games in, and we'll see if we can stream our first learning game, because that'll be the best experience to really see how hard the rules are to pick up, and how much it deviates from first edition, like our knowledge of the earlier versions. So it'll be fun, and it should go pretty quick. I think they said like an hour to 90 minutes for this hero skirmish level game. Because there's small objectives and few models, so if you lose something, I think things can work against you very quickly. Yeah, Matt says magic is gambling. Living card games are a pyramid scheme. Yeah, exactly. That's a very accurate portrayal. Yeah, definitely. A pyramid scheme. I wonder. I guess. Yeah, that's funny, because there was that controversy about loot boxes and things like, paying for rarity and stuff. I wonder why that's never come up with collectible card games. But because it's the old baseball card model. Anyhow, just no gum. If Magic the Gathering had gum in the packs, then maybe I would be more excited about it. That brittle, shattering little strip of bubble gum. All right. So sorry. Yeah, it took a little bit. I was worried we're going to get a late start because of that driver update. That was ridiculous. But it worked out. All right. So keep an eye on the channel. If you're not subscribed, if you're watching now and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and get notifications about when we go live. So we go live on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook as well. Depending on where you hang out. And they'll be kind of casual while I'm doing painting. The assembly is done, so while I'm doing the painting and everything, it'll just be kind of a casual hangout live stream, and we can talk about the game, and we can argue color schemes and everything. I'll just probably base everything on the Adrian Smith art, and also the examples that were in the first edition book for how to paint things. So I want them to look, kind of as authentically Chronopia as possible. So no wild deviation paint schemes. And we'll see what these look like painted. There's so much great detail. I just want to make sure I don't clog anything up. I gotta keep my wet palette very active, because I want these to look as nice as possible. And we'll try a combination of different things. I'm really happy with how some of the contrast paints work for wood and leather and things, and other things not so much. Like I don't think I'll touch the cloaks or anything with contrast paints, because they end up very patchy in a lot of ways, which looks okay if you're doing Rohirrim, but they can be rain stained and weathered. but I don't think don't think that would look great with Chronopia. Excellent. Yeah, very, very accurate assessment, Matt. That's nice. Nice. Miguel said the Devouts are strangely cheery. Yes, with their red. Yeah, that's true. With the red and white color scheme. I was looking at that because I was contemplating priming them black, and then I'm like, oh, but I got to get that white and red, bright enough that it. And sometimes you regret that, having to get something up to white. I did that. I did okay with in Infinity, some of like the white face plates and stuff. I could get up to a pretty bright white, but that's a lot of coats sometimes. But yeah, that's true. The original paint schemes and the illustrations and things are a little funny. So we'll see. But I think it might work. It might look nice. We'll see though, and we can always change. We can always deviate if it's looking a little bizarre. But I'm curious how these new sculpts and new poses will look painted in the kind of more original colors. That's true. A cheery, dark devotion. The dark one has his moments of happy popping colors. Nice. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back again next week. To do the same, and hopefully be closer. I guess by next week. We've just got 5 days until the Kickstarter for Chronopia launches, so we can talk about that next week, and hopefully be playing some games then. So take a look at the unboxing or the assembly live stream if you're interested in what was in this set and the condition it came in. Those were some big chunky rafts on that resin. Definitely terrain worthy after I cut them off. So everybody take care. Matt, K5, Miguel, Alvaro, thank you so much for watching, and we'll do this again soon. So take care everyone, and see you then. Goodbye.